Hello, and welcome to Kitsap Support Advocacy and Counseling. My name is Stephen Dearborn, and I'm one of the marriage family therapists on staff with KSAC. Today, I will be presenting to you the Parent and Caregiver Orientation to Counseling Services. KSAC would like to extend our deepest appreciation for making the choice to have your child access services in the wake of a traumatic event. Your support, comfort, and guidance can help children feel safe, help them manage their emotions, and help them to recover in a healthy way. The following slides will help to prepare you for what comes next and better explain how you and your child can benefit from our counseling services. First, let's go over some of the orientation expectations. Some of these, like the camera on, will only be applicable if you are doing this orientation with others or an advocate or therapist is facilitating the orientation. If you are simply listening to this as it was sent to you by a link or other means, you would not need to have your camera on. Confidentiality. If you are attending this session with others, you have signed a confidentiality agreement. Please abide by this agreement. No driving. Your safety is one of our top priorities. Attendees are not permitted to drive a vehicle during the orientation session. Quiet area. Please ensure that you are in a quiet area where you can devote your full attention to the orientation. No distractions or limited distractions. We know life gets busy and it's hard to have zero interruptions, but please try and limit distractions to the best of your ability. And while it may seem helpful to have your children present, this is not an informational session they should be included in. So let's talk about what is therapy and what is not therapy. Therapy involves the treatment of mental health concerns and behavioral problems through communication, relationship factors, and skill building. The goal of therapy is to inspire change and improve the quality of life. Therapy can promote the growth of one's self-esteem, relationships, and overall outlook on life. Therapists at KSAC are specially trained to work with victims of trauma. That is what is within the scope of our practice. After some time of you and your therapist working together, if it is determined that you are wanting to work on something that is outside the scope of trauma, your therapist may refer you out. The reason for this is that other helping professionals may be able to work more specifically with your needs if they are not specifically related to trauma. Therapy is not curing somebody of something, but rather a way of helping someone find the tools they need to help themselves. Therapy is not a quick fix, but rather a collaborative process between therapist and client. Therapy should not be forced or mandated by the parent or caregiver. Therapy should be an area where the child can choose, where they're empowered to have a voice and to make positive change in their life. Let's talk about some of the common reactions for families that may be present after an assault occurred. Many of the feelings are normal, and it's okay to feel what you are feeling. Guilt, self-blame, shame, desire to fix, avoidance, blaming the victim unintentionally, anger, sadness, grief, loss, anxiety, and fear, need for justice or vengeance, out of control, lost, going crazy. So let's talk about some of these. Many parents will come in feeling guilt or self-blame or that they've done something wrong. It's somehow their fault. Sexual assault is nobody's fault but the perpetrators. And that is on all levels. That is the victim, the secondary victims. Nobody is at fault for what has happened with your child, but the perpetrator. The desire to fix. Many of us want to get in there and say, this tragic thing just happened to my child, and I want to fix it immediately. I need to get this resolved as soon as possible. Unfortunately, healing from trauma knows no timeline. There is no time that you can just decide, okay, they're going to be healed from trauma. It's done. I don't need to worry about it anymore. They will heal in their own time and at their own pace. And as a parent, it's a nice weight off your shoulder to know that you don't have to be responsible for fixing anything. This is a very personal journey, even for your child, and they will heal on their own time. Avoidance. It's easy to say, let's just carry on life as normal. There's no need to worry about what happened, and it's over now, and let's just move on from this. And that is a normal, pretty common reaction for families. They want to get back to life as normal. But really, it's okay to slow down and take a pause and say, hey, we need to give our child the time to heal in this situation, and give our time the child to express themselves in a meaningful and healthy way, where they don't have to worry about just jumping right back into life, and they have a lot of feelings and um other things that they're carrying inside that haven't been resolved. Blaming the victim unintentionally, this happens more often than not. Many parents maybe had set a rule or set a boundary regarding certain people, or regarding maybe the choice of clothes that their child chose to wear. And when we point out those mistakes after a assault has occurred, we are unintentionally blaming the victim, right? We're saying, well, you shouldn't have went to this neighbor's house because I told you not to, or I told you not to wear a shirt that was a crop top. Anything along those lines would be considered victim blaming. And that can be very detrimental to the victim and their healing process. Other common feelings to feel: anger, sadness, grief, loss, anxiety, and fear. These are all normal. In many ways, you've experienced the traumatic reaction just as much as your child has. The need for justice or vengeance. Many people want to go out there and seek some sort of vengeance, seek some sort of uh, justice on their own terms. And that's not not really the best practice when it comes to these situations. But that feeling of needing it, and that feeling of I want to go over and punch this person in the face, right? That's a very normal feeling to feel. Of course, we don't want to act on those feelings, but expressing them and talking about them in a healthy way is certainly helpful. The feeling of out of control or lost. Absolutely. Your life has just been flipped upside down in the wake of a trauma, and you may be feeling that you are out of control of the situation. And in some ways, you are. And that's okay. We have to learn that, we can only control ourselves and what we do and do our best. Um, your child is in a place where kind of as we've discussed before, they're going to heal in their time, when they're able to process through this and share their emotions. And that's what therapy at KSAC is really about, is getting the child to a place where they can be able to talk about it, be able to process through the emotions, and finally move forward. So those feelings of out of control, while they're very normal, it's okay to embrace a little bit of it and say, hey, some of this is not within my realm of control, and that's okay. Going crazy. Absolutely. This is a common experience, especially when things, when you're experiencing all of these other things above, and they're all kind of there. It can be very overwhelming and can definitely give you those feelings of feeling like you're going crazy. All right, so next let's talk about what is trauma. Trauma is an emotional response to a terrible event. Common behaviors and symptoms, and these will be areas that you will want to look for within your child. The inability to focus, an inability to sleep or desire to sleep a lot, difficulty with self-regulations, changes in eating habits, feeling irritated or having angry outbursts, being jumpy or easily startled, dissociative episodes, physical complaints like headache and stomach ache, So a lot of these feelings are normal, and these are definitely things that you want to bring to your therapist's attention. You may see a lot of these as questions and an assessment, and it's okay to provide the answers to these because it helps us to better determine where your child is at in their process and how we can best help them. All right, responsibilities of parents. So, trauma informed care, right? Trauma informed care recognizes and responds to the signs, symptoms, and risks of trauma in order to better support the mental and physical health of individuals impacted by physical, sexual, and/or emotional trauma. So, what does that mean in a nutshell, right? Trauma informed care, we know, is a collaborative and it's sensitive to racial, ethnic, cultural, and gender diversity. Um, Trauma informed care is being able to provide supportive, compassionate responses to those impacted by trauma. So that really is it in a nutshell, is how are we going to respond? How are we going to best serve our children? Or, even if this has happened to a family member, a friend, how are we responding in a way that is healthy and positive and empowering for the victim and supportive of their healing? And this is today what you're learning about. And after you leave here today and you're done hearing this, you can say, I now understand trauma informed care. I know how to respond to this situation, which is a really great skill to have. Why caregiver involvement is so important. So your child's therapist can benefit from your ideas, and no one knows your child the way that you do. So you and your child are kind of the expert there in your lives, right? And you can kind of say, well, this is what works for us. This is what doesn't work. And there's no rule book that has to be followed. And that's kind of the great part about therapy is while we do have, specific treatment modalities, all of it is flexible and is dependent on, what are what the home life is like and what the child needs and what the parent brings to the table. So we really want to benefit from your ideas, and we want to hear how things are going at home, what's worked, what hasn't worked. um, Therapists really are only with your child for a short amount of time. This means that a lot of the treatment is actually being provided by the caregiver. So you'll want to work with your therapist, and the therapist is there to kind of give you and your child tools in the toolbox. That way when therapy ends, when it comes time and you need to use these tools, they're there, and the caregiver can help to facilitate that. Therapy really builds confidence. Showing your child that you have their back will give them the confidence to work hard in therapy. So we want to be supportive and um, encourage our kids to go to therapy. We never want to force, though. We never want to say, hey, you have therapy today and you will be going. That, can put a very bad taste in a child's mouth for therapy. Just like adults, sometimes kids need a break. Sometimes kids need to say, hey, you know what? Not today. And that's okay. We want them to heal in a way that is respectful of their timeline, right? So when we try and force them in and make them go to therapy, we're not respecting their timeline. We're not empowering them. We're not helping them to take agency over their healing. So we want to encourage, we want to say positive things about therapy, but we never want to force therapy. Your child may be learning skills that they can practice at home with you, and your involvement means that you can help them practice. Um, if you're coming in with a child, you may hear terms such as cookie breathing, or you may be learning about meditation, or you may be learning about how to self-regulate, right? And those are all great things that you can work with your therapist on and learn for yourself, and it'll help you to better support your child at home. You're learning too, right? Your child's therapist may have ideas and resources to help improve communication or other things your household may be struggling with. Right. So, voice testimonials from past clients' families. We currently do not have any voice testimonials, but we are hoping to get some. So, if this is an area that you are interested in, or you would like to provide a voice testimonial after services have uh, been provided to you, you can get with your therapist or your advocate. They'll likely have you sign a release and you can provide that voice testimonial. And that is the end of our slide. If you have additional questions or you are concerned about your own mental health, or maybe you have unresolved sexual trauma of your own, please reach out to KSAC, reach out to your advocate, reach out to a therapist. We are here to help and support through that, and make sure that your child has a positive experience with therapy and that they can move on and continue their life. So if you have any questions, again, reach out to us. We also will be having, or may have currently, parent support groups that you can attend as well. So we look forward to seeing you at those. If you have questions about groups, you can email groups@ksacservices.org. Thank you so much.